All right. Hey, what's up? It's Frank here. I kind of didn't time that right. The dogs were scratching to get in. My name is Frank Lavinia. I stream a lot here, and so you probably already know who I am. I'm also the founder of franksworld.com, global go-to-market lead for data services here at Red Hat. I actually have my Red Hat t-shirt underneath this. Also the co-host, Data Driven and Impact Quantum. And today is a really, tough day. Let's not mince words. Obviously, the acoustics here, I moved my office, and part of that is because, for those that don't know, I was at the World Trade Center 22 years ago. Today, I actually lived down in Lower Manhattan, halfway between the World Trade Center and the South Street Seaport. And it really was, it was a tough day. I'm not going to lie. I've written quite a bit about it. If you go to franksworld.com/WTC, I wrote that pretty early on. I haven't updated the site since because, it's hard material to work with. Like every year I'm like, I'm going to rewrite this. And then I spend a few minutes in it. I'm like, I really don't want to work on that. So for those of you wondering, you're probably thinking, how could you be grateful, right? And trust me, it was a hard time. I'm not gonna lie. The following years after the attack were also quite difficult. My apartment was contaminated. My job was eliminated. Every relationship I had in my life had suffered dramatically, and it was a tough slog to kind of get my life back. I'm not gonna lie. And this year, actually last year, we had a new house, and very grateful. This year, of course, we have a new family member. The kinship placement of the baby. Can't really say more than that because of privacy laws. Long story there. But the key message to take away is that whatever you're going through, it'll pass. All storms pass. Even 9/11 and the utter disaster that was my life post 9/11 for a good 3-4 years. I would say, if you measured in monetary terms, it took about 5-6 years for me to get back to where I was, maybe 5 years. It was tough. It was, being in the financial services space in technology it was like the perfect storm. It was, you had Enron collapse, you had WorldCom, you had the dot-com crash, and then you had September 11th, which struck really at the heart of the financial sector. And I had grown up in New York. I lived in Germany for a time, which I'd come back to move into my new apartment. It was a tough time, and I look at my life today, and I'm very grateful that I stuck it out and I turned it around. I got no financial compensation because I couldn't prove I really lived there. I just moved, and it was a disaster basically. And as bad as that day was, the following 18 months were possibly even worse because it was kind of, I had to relive it every day. Dealing with PTSD became very real. And I implore you that if you have PTSD or know someone who does, get them to get help. I was very fortunate. My parents, my dad especially, God rest his soul, was very adamant that I needed more help than I could kind of self-do. And that's saying something because he was from the generation where that seeking mental health was kind of stigmatized. So for him to recognize that, I suspect he knew people who came back from Vietnam kind of scarred. But so you're probably wondering, like, hey, Frank, this background is a little different. This is actually the designated office space in this house. and I had moved it to another room. And this weekend I just kind of got on a thing where I'm like, I'm going to move this office. And I realize now that was really like keeping busy. And I assure you, I will get the 6-monitor rig set up again, and a few other goodies too. But the logistics of moving that are not trivial. So I track my steps, and I had something like 20,000 steps yesterday. Even though it's the same floor and stuff like that, just a lot of stuff to move, a lot of stuff to organize and clean. So it was good. Yes, it is a good day to be alive. Thank you for commenting, Thomas. Every day a building. I kind of came up with this phrase shortly thereafter 9/11, where I was like, any day that a building doesn't fall on me is a good day. And I did want to stream because I do have a bunch of meetings coming up, and I'm not going to have the podcast rig or the normal streaming setup ready for a few hours. It's going to take a few hours to do it. But you know what? I enjoy that. It's definitely something that I like what I do. Right, I'm very fortunate in that, and that's no accident. The other thing I was going to point out was, if you can see it right there, I got a refurbished server, Dell PowerEdge 620, because I've been wanting to do a lot more experiments with kind of Kubernetes and kind of learning the infrastructure kind of things. And yes, I could easily spin up a cloud service, but I spent $250 on that. That's all I'll ever spend, which I think is a good metaphor for kind of the on-prem, how on-prem has come back in vogue. Also picked up a new NAS because we're running out of space for photos for the kids. What's good today, Thomas? I'll answer your question. I'll tell you what's good. Just being alive, just being able to breathe. I've talked at length about my 9/11 story, and I thought I was dead. I mean, honestly, like it was. If you look at the footage of the initial collapse, so first off, I was supposed to be in 4 World Trade at the time. I worked for Deutsche Bank, and I was supposed to be either in 130 Liberty Street, which was across the street, but there was a meeting in 4 World Trade. So if you remember the Trade Center, I actually have a model somewhere. There we go. I bought this some time ago, and so that's the North Tower. I was supposed to be in this building. Where I ended up being was right about here in relation to the tower falling. And if you look at so this is the North Tower, that's the South Tower. If you look at the footage of the South Tower falling, it fell this way. That was the direction I was in. So I just assumed I was going to get crushed. So I ran like hell. And then after like a block or two, I realized like, well, nothing crushed me, so I'm still alive, right? And I turned back and I just see this it was just this massive 6, 7, 8 story tall dust cloud coming my way. So I turned off into a side street. I think it was Nassau Street. And then all of a sudden, the billows of smoke kind of closed in from behind and in front of me, and everything went dark, like it went black. It was a weird dust cloud, like it was black and then everything went white. And I just assumed, like in the descriptions of people who have near-death experiences, everything turned dark and then everything turned white. I just assumed I was dead, honestly. It was only when I had trouble breathing that I realized I was still alive. Now, I don't know how long this was, but let me tell you, man, it felt like it felt like 20 minutes. But ultimately, some good Samaritan kind of pulled me into a shoe store, and I was able to cough. It was not a good scene. And that's when they had the radio on, announcing kind of what was happening. And the rest of the day was about getting somewhere safe. It was wild. So see another comment. Thomas sitting for the nice. Congratulations. That's awesome. Should have you on the show talking about that. That'd be cool. But in case, I think that the one lesson I learned from 9/11 was don't take anything for granted. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Today isn't guaranteed. So if you want to, tell someone you love them, you tell them. You want to do something, just do it. Like nothing held back. Hold back nothing. And yeah, so each year hits a little different. This year I was I want to get busy. I just got stuff to do. And so I moved this office, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot of work. But you know what? I enjoy it, and I'm fortunate enough to have what I have. And I thank God every day that I'm still alive, that I had the support at the time that I did. And maybe I'll write more about it one day, kind of the more personal side of things, which I never really revealed. But just be grateful for what you have. And, today I kind of reflected on something like I'm grateful for the struggles I had too, right? Because it made me stronger and it made me who I am today. And I try to actually like who I am today. It sounds terribly arrogant, I know, but one of the key lessons I learned on 9/11 was no matter what happens, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, you're stuck with you, right? You're stuck with you. You have to look at yourself in the mirror, right? And from birth to the day you die, you're stuck with you. Other people will be along for the ride too, but you have to like you. You have to be comfortable with you. You have to like who you are, who you're becoming. Because you can't escape yourself, right? If you're in a situation you don't like, you can leave it, right? But you can't escape yourself. Many people have tried, but it's ultimately impossible to do. You're stuck with you. You're stuck with your own thoughts. And keep that in mind. It was a Marcus Aurelius quote that said something about your thoughts define who you are, something like that. And he's like, so guard your thoughts carefully. I think that is a good point to leave the stream on. I know this is typically more philosophical than my typical LinkedIn live stream. I also have dogs in the background that are trying to escape out the room. And the acoustics aren't that great. I realize that, but I wanted to stream. I wanted to get the message out, right? One, helps me. And two, there might be somebody out there struggling with something who's within the sound of my voice. There's hope. There is always hope. But hope is not a strategy. That's where people fail. You actually have to do. And the one lesson I learned from 9/11 was you're stuck with you, right? So make you someone you're okay being stuck with. Not just okay being stuck with, you're happy being stuck with. At the verge of sounding a bit arrogant or whatever. That's kind of the key lesson I have. And I'm very grateful to be alive, right? I'm very grateful to have my health, right? Everybody swore up and down how safe the air was at Ground Zero in the weeks and months following 9/11. Obviously, there's sadly a bunch of firefighters and EMT and rescue workers and police that have found out that's not the case. So, yeah. And my thoughts go out to them, all the people who died. I have not been to the monument. Someone's asking me, have I been to the monument? No, I haven't. I've been back to Ground Zero a bunch of times, but not since the monument and the new tower was built. I just, I'll go one day. I want to go with my kids. And on the other side of that wall, on the other side of the Nothing Held Back, I have a painting of the World Trade Center. And people have asked me, like, hey, why do you have that? Why do you have this little model of the Trade Center in your office? And I see it every day, and it reminds me that if I can survive that, I can survive just about anything. So I've kind of turned that. What Andy says, I think he got it from Frank Herbert of Dune. You transmute the poison or something like that. Shout out to Andy Leonard, brother from another mother. It's a reminder of how far I've come. And this house was built shortly around that time frame. And this is the house I've kind of dreamt about. I know it sounds hokey and corny and whatever, but it is what it is. And Thomas, great comment. You're absolutely right. You have to like yourself. before others will come to like you. I think we all know people in our lives, friends, family, acquaintances, etc., who don't like themselves. And there's a saying that says, "Hurt people, they hurt people." And I think that's it's very true, right? If someone's going around hurting people, they're hurting themselves. Oh, so you went. Okay. So I'm assuming you're talking about the trade center thing. Yeah. Somber and real, the right time of year for us. Yeah. I will go there one day. It's just every time I've been to New York, somebody said I was afraid to face it. And I'm like, that's not true at all. Like, I've been back to Ground Zero. I was back there before they rebuilt the PATH station. When you had to go through the PATH station, for those wondering, PATH is the subway that runs between New Jersey and New York City. New York City is on the border of a state line, so the transit system has to be like under a different company, and just political reasons, I guess. So I would, I wanted to sign my when I got my severance from Deutsche Bank, I had to go basically walk down Wall Street and kind of go that way, and it was just. I've been there a bunch of times. I just haven't been there since they built the museum, and it was yeah. Oh man, thanks to you, man. Thanks, Thomas. We got to have you on the show or a live stream, whichever you want to do. Hit me up in private message. And tschüss. 11 a.m. meeting. Cool, man. Which reminds me, I also have an 11 a.m. meeting. So I got to drop, and you stay safe out there and just enjoy life, man. Life was meant to be enjoyed. So with that, I'll end the stream. Have a good one, everyone.